Hello, my name is Rick and I'm an alcoholic. Today's topic took me a little week to try to figure out how I'm going to put this together in a nice way to deliver it. Not too aggressive, but in a nice way of delivering the truth. Um, this is just introductory to the mind, like I said, of an addict. And we're going to say addict and alcoholic throughout the short time that we're doing this for. The last one I just recorded for 30 minutes. I didn't like it. Didn't come out right. So I deleted it and doing it again. But this is a very tough subject because I know people personally whose families are coping with addicts and active addicts. I just say active because we are addicts or alcoholics, but we're not actively using. So for a lot of people out there, that's going to be like, well, this, and this. It's just how I view things. Because you can say I'm an alcoholic. So when I say I'm an alcoholic, everybody's like, oh, so you're still drinking heavily. No, I'm not. So I usually use the term, I'm not an active alcoholic or an active addict. Again, addiction is addiction, as I said in the first video, regardless of what. You're just taking a different poison. That's it. So, the mind of an addict is a very not hard thing to understand. It's just something people don't want to understand. It's a road a lot of people don't want to go down. And having all of these degrees and certifications of courses completed on addiction, that's great. That gives you a brief understanding. So how many of you, I know there's this image out there, and I'll post it later if need be, see if I can find a way to post images or pictures or whatever. I'm sure YouTube has a way. If not, I'm sorry. But there's this picture of a glacier. And on the top, it could be whatever. It has the tip of the glacier, the ocean, and then under it's the base of a glacier. So this is the basic understanding of the tip of it is a basic understanding with all these certifications and paperwork and classes and courses that people do. Hell, even on our job, we have to do con eds and certain courses throughout the year. That touches but the edge of it. Under that water is a whole different world. The only ones who really understand the minds of an addict, and I'm not taking away from the families understand a little bit more. They understand a little bit deeper under the surface, but not much more. They understand the mind of an addict from a family member point of view, perspective. Who really understands how the addict or the alcoholic or whatever you want to label it as, the mind is the ones who are living with it themselves. Plain and simple. If you really want to get an understanding, put in as what they would say in the science world, you got to put the field work in. You got to get dirty. In the military, you got to get in the trenches, kid. That's how they always say that, meaning you got to get the experience in the field. If that means going to AA and just sitting there, or NA and sitting there, and I'm sure, I believe they got, Telegram has AA groups now. Facebook, I believe, has all of these different groups now that support you. Get in there and get dirty. Get to know us. Look, let me tell you something. We're not bad people. We just made bad choices. That's what it comes down to. We made bad choices that we got to deal with and be held accountable every day of our life. But we are also very open about our choices. And the reason why we are very open about talking is we hopefully pray whatever God you believe in and knock on a lot of wood, we get through to somebody before it becomes too late. That's why we are open. So you can read all the stuff you want. Get out there. Get in the trenches. Talk to us. We'll be way open about what we did and been through, even the pick of our poison and what led up to it. Who knows the story better than us? So what I'm going to label off. So, a couple things here. I'm trying to pull it up. I got all these windows open. Um, so you could take this signs of an alcoholic or signs of an addict, whatever. So we're going to say, and you could use, that's just like AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, NA, Narcotics, GA, Gamblers, SA, also known as sex addiction, and they have all these addictions out there. So you just got to swap out the words, and it's going to all fall in the same category. Signs of alcoholic thinking or drug addict, whatever you want. We'll throw addict in there anyway. We'll just use that. So include denial, rationalization, blame shifting, self-pity, perfectionism, aggression, impulsivity, risky behaviors, and all or nothing mentality, and prioritizing drinking above all else. Swap out that. Signs of drug use, drug abuse, or drug addiction, da-da-da-da-da. Other 7 personality traits. Prioritizing alcohol or drugs. Let's just say drugs, because alcohol to me is a drug, because it causes the same effect and the same addiction. Placing blame on others, frequent excuses, drinking uncontrollably or drugging, struggling financially, definitely a truth, shifting priorities and behaving recklessly. There, it's right there. So we're going to go one deeper, a few deeper actually. We're going to go how we do things. So these are what to look for, but we're going to take a step back for a second. First of all, for everybody out there to get an understanding, we have a chronic illness that does not go away. There's no cure for it. There is none of this. If you ever talk to anybody, and I said this in my first video, and I'll always reiterate certain key factors. Anybody that says I used to be, once was, been there, done that, lived that life, no. They may have drank heavily, but they're not an addict or an alcoholic. We have a disease that will kill us, progressively kill us over time if we do not stop. That is alcohol. Drug addiction, if you're out there messing with opiates and fentanyl and all that, like I said before, you're playing Russian roulette. In the end, it kills us if we do not stop. It's just alcoholism is progressive over time. Opiate addiction, well, all my EMT fellow buddies who are going to view this later, they're going to tell you, one bad bag. It's all, or one bag hit. It's a wrap. Not enough Narcan or whatever is going to save you if you get the wrong stuff. It's a wrap. Bye. That's reality, people. So what I mean by progressively, in a way, over time, it does affect our pancreas. It does tear it up. It does give us esophageal cancer because you're drinking all the time, a chemical. It does kill our liver, shuts our kidneys down, leads to diabetes, coronary heart disease. I mean, come on, look at the list. I'll pull it up right now. In fact, let's do that right now. That way, let me see. Let's do this right now. Side effects of, there we go, alcohol. There you go. All right, so alcohol is directly linked. This is coming from Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.gov at SAMHSA. Alcohol is directly linked to over 40 medical conditions, including cancer, heart disease, stroke, liver disease, digestive problems, and mental health conditions. Right there. So, You could take that and put that in. I mean, straight up, there's other effects of drug abuse, but the end is overdose is 99% of the time, and there are some of those that survive. So what we're going to talk about for the families now is how we are, the mindset. I'm not talking about 7 signs. I'm talking about our mindset. We don't want your help. I'm going to put it out there. We don't want your help. We know we need help. We don't want it. And no matter how many times as a family member you push addiction, you need to go to rehab, we are concerned. We don't care. We don't care. We have one set mind, one set goal. We're going to get drunk or we're going to get high. Or do both. Drink and drugs. Some do one, some do the other, some do both. It's a fact. And we don't want your help, people. Now, I know everybody's like, that's messed up. It is kind of dark. It is messed up. But the reality is, I'm not telling you what you need to hear and giving you a nice, pretty doll in a package that means pleasantry. No, I'm telling you what you need to hear, not what you want. Think about it. You don't want to hear it, but you need to hear it. Think of recovery. We know we need help, but we don't want help. See how that goes? You need to know, as family members of addicts and alcoholics, I'm going to say this freely, we don't give a shit. I try not to use profanity, but I'm telling you, we don't care. And we never will while we're under the influence or actively using. We don't care. We don't want your help. What we want from you is to manipulate you, to lie to you, to steal from you, to make you feel guilty, so we could take stuff and go get the next fix. You come on now. You think I'm hungry. Can I have money? I have no food. And you give them money. You think they're going right down the street to get a Wendy's? No. They're going right down that corner and getting a score. Or they're going right down in the liquor store and getting a fifth. That's it. That's the fact. We don't want anything. Here's a fact. As an addict, I'm going to say this for broad spectrum. We'll lie to you. We'll manipulate. We'll cheat. We'll pile guilt trips, which is manipulation. We'll break your heart. We know you love us. We're going to exploit that weakness. And we're going to take that weakness and we're going to run with it. And we're going to keep you doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And we already know 99% of the time, people's going to give in. That's my baby. That's my brother. That's my son. That's my daughter. Look, you're feeding the addiction. When you give in, you're feeding the addiction. Oh, I don't like him. I think I'm not helping him. You're not helping them. You're not helping the person by feeding into what we want and our cravings and and what we long for. We want that fix. And we'll manipulate it. Do not let us in your house. Don't. We're going to steal stuff. We'll steal that jewelry. We'll steal that money. We'll snag your credit cards and just run out before you know it and swipe them up and then put them back and then disappear. Or, oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't, I need help. We'll come up with excuses and combine those excuses and with how to make you feel like it's your fault. We will blame others while we are here. You don't love me. You want to see me in pain. And come on. I'm sure everybody's watching this has heard it one way, shape, or form. Even in the ambulance as a medic, I hear it, and I'm sober and I'm recovering, and I hear it and I see it, and it hits me like, wow, man, that's how that was me. Intoxicated, throwing up, saying that my kids, they don't love me. But and it's an eye opener when you see it from the other end of the spectrum. Which, in a way, I'm glad I see that because it lights me to stay straight. Listen, family members out there watching this and listening to this, this is very painful for everybody. Everybody wishes that they had a magic wand, and they pray. And then they get mad and impatient because it's not working. Let me tell you something. And this, everybody tosses this around very loosely until they got to confront it. No, what is it? You can't help somebody who don't want to be helped. But we use that loosely for Joe Schmo on the street. But when it comes to our family, we don't want to hear it. When it comes to your family who has an addicted problem, you don't want to hear it. Now, I'm not being a total jerk off by saying don't help them. But there's nothing you could do. They got to take that first serious step to recovery and help to be on the right path. The first step's the hardest. It always is. The only thing you could do is guide them, but you can't force them. You could show them by giving them a point. But it's up to that person who hits rock bottom. I mean, really hits rock bottom. And a lot of times, I'm sorry to say, it doesn't matter how many times they hit rock bottom, they may never learn. You got two people. You got the ones that hit rock bottom and realize it before they're too far gone. You got the ones that hit rock bottom when they're way far gone and they got really bad health problems. Either way, we got to want that help ourselves first. We got to take that first step. If you say, I'll just take them and drop them off at the rehab, you know what they're going to do? Wait till you leave. Here's my ID. I don't need to be here. See ya. They can't hold them by that person's choice. They'll walk right out. Trust me. It happens. And no matter how many times you drop them off and give them ultimatums, they already know you're going to give in. So this is a trying time for the families of who have addicts or alcohol, drug addicts. We'll just say that. Whatever. I don't care. You know what I mean. This is trying times because you're going to find out how strong you really are when you got to stand up. And some, they do get violent. Yeah. So what do? Some people have to call the cops. They won't call. They know you're not going to call the cops because you're family. You don't do that to family. And that's the first thing they're going to say. Why are you doing? We're not in our right mind when we're drinking and drugging and boozing and using, man. We're not. We don't know what the day is. You know? Because we're so screwed up here. For family members, you're going to have to exercise dichotomy of control. I mentioned it before. As an addict, we have to exercise that as well for our healing. As a family member, you got to exercise that so that way you can step back. Dichotomy of control is knowing what you have control over and what you don't have control over. You have no control over external factors, only internal factors. And internal factors being your thoughts, your responses, your emotions, how you handle the situation, what you say, what you do, blasey, 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 yada, 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 the list goes on. What you don't have control over is other people's actions. Now, you can do what you got to do to persuade that, but chances of being a success with an addict and alcoholic, 0. That's dichotomy of control in a nutshell. You have no control over what that person does. I'm not giving them money. You're not going to give them money. You don't think they're going to go find a way to score it for an extra bag? Pardon me 1 second. I'm going to look up something real quick. Just came to my mind. Somebody else I was talking about. To somebody else. Let me see. Give me 1 second, please. Skateboarder who... There we go. Who was he? Okay, so we're going to go into this next too in a few seconds. So I had this guy's book. I lost it. I don't remember where it is, so I'm going to order it again. We're going to go into two things right now where it's going to be a fine example. One, but we're going to finish this up for a few more seconds. Family members, you cannot do anything about your family who has an addiction. They got to want to change. If you try to push it and you pile the guilt trip on it, you're going to push them right back down towards that corner and you're right back at where you were before. They know you love them, and they know deep inside if they're actively using, they're going to want you to be there for them. I knew that in my addiction, but I didn't want to listen. I mean, I'll tell you, I had good credit. I trashed my credit cards, destroyed my credit, because all I would do was just max out credit cards on alcohol. And now I'm trying to fix it. I did it to myself. Nobody else did it for me or to me. I had my family for 4 years was saying, you got a problem, you're addicted, you got an alcohol problem, you're an alcoholic. And I had that pride. No, I'm not. Come on. Things that we have in common, that all addicts have in common with each other. With alcohol, we hide bottles. We'll buy the minis, we'll stash them. We'll buy the big ones, we'll put them in the trunk, we'll put them in our gym bag. I'm guilty for that. I even had a bottle that where I gauged if I drink this quick, I'm going to go through this much, and I wanted to offshoot everybody, think I didn't have a drinking problem. So I had a bottle, and I would sip a little, so that way it looks like I'm taking my time with it. And there I have my other bottles stashed, pounding them. I had old wine that was gross that I would drink because I wanted it that bad. It's horrible. And it's the same with drug addicts. I don't have a problem, but they hide their bags. They'll hide their needles. And if they say, yo, look, see, I'm clean, I'm not shooting up, they're snorting it or smoking it. But they got bags hidden. We try to be sneaky as possible. You cannot trust us. You can't. If your intuition is telling you rationalization is telling you, I cannot trust this person, you got to use your rational side of your brain over your emotional side. We manipulate emotions very easily. And we know that. Once somebody starts stepping up and being rational, we go to another person, and then another person, and then another person. And it's painful for family members who have to take that stand and be rational. It's very painful. But it builds resilience. And in the end, when the dust settles and the smoke clears, and we finally said, I need the help, and we put ourselves through that, and we come out sober and clean, and we're fighting it. Still don't believe us. Let that happen over time. Because we still having to deal with the alcoholic or drug addict mindset. It takes time. I'll tell you, I think they said 18 months to 2 years for your mind to at least return to somewhat normal. But trust is going to develop over time. Believing us is going to develop over time. But we got to earn that back. As an addict, we've used words and abused words and used those to the fullest extent of our ability. Now it's actions. And we'll get pissed. We don't believe you. Why? I've never, I know I got a problem. I'm getting help. I just need this. They'll go, I need to get food. Like I said, I need to get food. I'm hungry. So if they say that, walk out with some food. Give them a sandwich. Give them a burger. DoorDash that. Here you go. If they refuse it, then you know. The addiction in our mind is what matters most. Not your love, not your hope, not those tears, not the hugs. That don't mean nothing to us. We want that next fix. We want that booze. We want that use. And you guys got to be strong. You guys have to be strong. If not, you're going to keep getting trampled and trampled and trampled. You know, I know some people, I had to respond on plenty after my recovery. A couple times I had to respond. And a lot of times it's sort of like I said earlier, veterans recognize veterans, and we just pick that up. Cops could recognize cops, or first responders could recognize first responders. Recovering addicts recognize addicts. And there's been times where I walked up and I'm like, when was the last time you used? And they'd look at me. Addicts are addicts, whether we drink ourselves to death or inject ourselves to death. And they're shocked, and I'll be honest. You know, let me tell you something. I've seen people you think would hit rock bottom out there. I've seen people be Narcaned, come back, get pissed. Why'd you Narcan me? You're dying. They'll wait, and the first time that wears off, boom, they're back at it. I've seen the synthetic stuff, and this is gross, where they create synthetic heroin, and I've seen decay, necrotic tissue, arms ready to fall off, squishy. I've seen arms chopped off, and they're still shooting up. I've seen it in their neck, hitting the neck. It's just, when you see that, it should put you straight. If you are a recovering addict or alcoholic and you see that, it should scare you straight. And to stay straight, it does every day to me. I've seen and this is going into opioid addiction and heroin addiction or meth or whatever. I've seen 18, 19, 20-year-old kids selling their bodies on the street. You never would have thought that, because they want that next. And other people's minds, man, that's rock bottom. In their mind, that's not rock bottom. Sometimes it takes us hitting rock bottom, and we got to recognize what our rock bottom is. You can't say to us, okay, so let me take that. You can, but we're not going to listen. You hit rock bottom. This is the most lowest I've ever seen you. Why don't you? I've heard it. I heard people say the same stories in rehab. And in the end, we got to know what our rock bottom is. We determine when we hit rock bottom. And half the time, a lot of times, it's a consistent rock bottom until finally they say, boom, I've had enough. And a lot of times for alcohol, since it is a progressive killing disease, I've seen people's Simpsons yellow. And get told, man, if you drink one more drink, it's going to kill you. Does that stop them? A lot of times, no. Other times, that's when they change their life, and that's when they hope that their liver, they can hang on long enough for the 6 months to a year sobriety, and most of them still stay sober to get that transplant. But a lot of times, it don't happen. Kidney failure, like I just read off to you. Coronary heart disease, heart attacks, strokes. You know, this stuff will kill you. Like I said, with heroin and opioids, it's a 50-50 gamble, Russian roulette, man. And with alcohol, it's progressive. And a lot of times, some people just drink themselves to death because they don't want to change. Others, they get wizened up really, really quick. There's a guy I watched, and I had his book. I mentioned that his name is Brandon Novak. Um, Read about him. He has a go on YouTube, Brandon Novak lecture. I think he was here in Philly when he gave it. I'm not sure, one of the big houses where they do theater. Um, Talked about his addiction. Really young, Super Bowl. I mean, not skateboarder phenom, I believe. Contracts at a young age. Went downhill. Got addicted. Started off with alcohol. Some people stay addicted to alcohol. Some people go and play with the other stuff, and then now you got a double whammy. Long story short, this guy went through contracts after lost everything he had, in and out of rehab. Half of his life on rehab. Went to jail. I think he said a story one time he was down here in Kensington. Another story, he was trying to fly out and look like a bum in an airport. You gotta listen to his lecture, and he tells his life story. Not people say, he's just bragging about it. That's not our glory days. Trust me, that is not a war story or a glory day story. That is a tool, a lesson, a lecture to hopefully reach through to people. There's times he was saying he would sell his body. Dark stuff that you never realized in your right mind you're gonna ever freaking do. There's a movie, Basketball Diaries, I think. Give me a second. I think that's what it's called. It has Leonardo DiCaprio in it, but I'm gonna look right now. Just thinking about a movie to reference to you, the family members, to get an idea of what I'm talking about. Let me see. Had brain fart. Basketball Diaries. Let me see. I think it's yes, Basketball Diaries, 1995. Leonardo DiCaprio is in it. And Lorraine Bracco is his mom. Jim's the character. So there's a scene, I believe, and I want parents to see this. It's a good movie, and it burned in my brain, where he is banging on his mother's door as an active user. I think he was using heroin and all that. Trying to manipulate her. Started off with all phases. Oh, mom, I need a place to stay. I need money. I need to get food. Will you help me out, please? Da 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 da. Yada yada yada. And she already knew the game, man. And I'm gonna go into this next. She already knew. I can't help you. And she realized I cannot help you because I'm feeding your addiction. Went through, how can you do this to your son? Watch it. It is a heart-tugging, heartbreaking scene, and not for him, but on the mother's side, having to take a stand and say, no, enough's enough. I will not feed your addiction. Went through, I'm your son. Don't you love me? You want to see me in pain. You want to see, piling a guilt trip to the point he became violently and verbally abusive, calling her F and B. I'm not going to use it because this is going on YouTube. Went through everything. And in the end, he's telling a story on stage, I believe. It's a heartbreaking scene because it showed exactly what families of people who are addicted go through. And like I told you in the beginning of this video, we are about manipulating, and then we go through all stages to where we are violent and angry, and everybody says that is not you. You're right, it is not us, but that's who we become. Take all that away. I've seen people who still bear the scars, but they're like, man, I'm happy. I got a lady in AA right now, and it's sad. Her story was she's been sober clean 10 years, 15 years now. No, 10 years. Her daughter overdosed, and that killed her. But she, at the time, became sober and has her grandchild for 5 years now. Healthy, sober. She's got a full-time job, nice car, beautiful house. And she's not bragging. Everybody thinks, oh, these AA people, they brag. No, they're not bragging. And if they did, they have a right. But they're not. They're saying all things are possible with hard work. And there's some whose connections with their children and their families are stronger than before because of hard work. Is it impossible to achieve? No. It's going to feel like that for you family members. It's going to feel impossible. But it's not. It takes hard work on both ends. Because once they start sobering up and we start clearing up and we start getting our mindset back, now there's scars that we caused, wounds that we caused that's not healed. Now it's going to be, I'm pissed because you did this, you hurt us. It takes time. And as far as being an addict, it's going to be hard not to go back and use again, because we have to accept and acknowledge all we did during our active use. And we got a lot that we have to prove to the families. So on us, we got to give them time. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort on your behalf. And on the family side, if you want, as hard as you are fighting to get them into rehab and praying and pleading for their clean and to come back, keep that in your mind, because now they are clean. They are doing it. So on both ends, it's going to take work. But as far as family is concerned, don't believe us while we're actively using, and don't believe us for a while after we're done actively using. You're going to have to step back. Practice dichotomy of control. And you're going to have to observe and watch. And I implore you, please, watch the Jim Novak lecture. Watch the movie Basketball Diaries. If I could recommend those two, watch them tonight. Sit down, and if you're actively a family member of an active user, it's going to be painful. But as far as I could say, into the mind of what an addict goes through, that's the best. But I'm also telling you from the mind of an addict and has families of addicts, you cannot believe us while we are actively using. You got to build that armor, and you got to become resilient. And they're going to pile guilt trip. And I'll be honest, if they become a different person and they're angry and they're violent and they're threatening you, call the cops, have them committed. At least that's a step. And a lot of people don't want to. And push comes to shove, you got to do that. But you can't force rehab on us. We have to be ready to recover ourselves. Plain and simple. But I'm about to go somewhere and run some errands. I just wanted to talk about this briefly. If you have any questions or anything, feel free. Leave a comment and we'll go over stuff. I wish you guys to have a great and wonderful day. And until next time, take care.